Impact Plus. Experience Impact Wrestling like never before.
Truth is, when the offers started coming, solid offers to leave ECW and go to one of the other companies for more money, I really didn't want to go. When I was young and was exposed to wrestling, it was kind of a natural draw, I would think, because I was action-oriented from what I remember. Around the same time, I was watching the action movies and imitating what I would see. We had something called Chopsaki Theater, which was martial arts movies from the Far East that was like once a week shown, dubbed on our television, and I would watch those moves and I would think like, wow, I want to be able to do that. And I used to run up trees and do backflips just because I saw it in the movies. So with wrestling, it was a very similar thing. Like they're both fighting arts. There was a wrestling ring to me, kickboxing ring to the guy that owned it in town in Battle Creek. He told all of us wrestlers, show up on Wednesday, 7 o'clock at night or something, we can get in the ring and work out. What we didn't know was that really meant first going through his classes with all of his kickboxers, doing all the stretches, the drills, and then sparring afterwards, and stuck in that mode for a while. Found out I was really good at kickboxing. I was knocking everybody out, regardless of what belts they were, how much experience they had training before I got there. And so I started liking that. Eventually it became time for me to go to the Tough Man contest to try my skills. And there you find a lot of guys that are bar fighters that are used to throwing one punch and knocking somebody out with a sucker punch. Well, if they're still looking at you after you punch them and that's all you got, you're not going to get very far. And so that's what was fun about that. Regardless of your ranking, your art, your experience, it's all about that moment. Let's go at it and see who wins. So I always enjoyed that. And I also kept with martial arts throughout. As I was traveling with my career, took some Yoshikai in Florida with Ron Slinker, who gave me the name Rob Van Dam in '91. The art that I liked the most and that I spent the most time on was when I lived in Savannah, Georgia. It was called Kaju Kenbo. It has 5 arts put together, and it's realistic stuff. Putting your thumb in someone's eye, punching them in the temple, ending a fight, more than fighting for sport and points. And that's more about defending yourself, and it's realistic. I got trained really snug, is a friendly way to put it, by the original Sheik. Way different than the way other wrestlers have gotten trained, especially people have been trained in the last 20 years or so, because in '89, when I first met the Sheik, the whole outlook on pro wrestling was different. People believed in the fighting aspect of what they were watching more, and the wrestlers protected the business more back then, and it was a closed door society. It wasn't easy for people to just walk into the dressing room and get photos with the fans. In fact, I'd seen people beat up and thrown out of the dressing room many times back in the day, because that's the way that it was. When I was first allowed in the dressing room, Sheik and Sabu both already beat the fan out of me. They said, you're one of the boys, you're not a fan, don't talk to anybody unless they talk to you, definitely don't ask anybody for a picture. If you say anything to anybody, you just introduce yourself, shake their hand, and that's it, unless they talk to you. So they really beat that out of me before my first time in the dressing room. And that did affect the rest of my career, because how can I still be excited that Undertaker's changing next to me in the dressing room if I already didn't care about that a year or two into the business because I was broke of that. Nowadays, every day, the wrestlers are getting pictures of RVD in the dressing room after the show. Like, they don't mind, hey Rob, they don't mind coming up. And it's because times are different. And, hey, everything has to change. But with that little background put in there, the Sheik trained us to beat the hell out of each other. There was never, ever one time during my schooling where Sheik said, this is how to hit somebody without injuring them. This is how to slam somebody and take care of them. Even yourself. This is the right way to fall and not get hurt. There was none of that. There was none of that. It was about grabbing each other, squeezing each other, trying to pin each other. And that's how I got trained. I knew, and my friends knew that were with me from watching wrestling and from those matches we had at the kickboxing shows. We knew that we had to work with each other to a certain degree in order to pull off what we wanted to accomplish, and we were sensible. But the Sheik never one time said, hey, you're hitting him too hard, or you're too hard. Never. Nobody else even wanted to train with us. There was like a small group of like 4 of us, and we were it was a very intimate setting. For a lot of time, the Sheik had the ring in the backyard. We would work out in the ring. We would swim in his pool. We would eat dinner with him and Joyce, his wife. He would tell stories. It wasn't like a big wrestling school. Everyone's lined up, going like the machines they have now, where everybody lines up, everybody take the same bump. Now you bump, bump, bump. It wasn't anything like that. And some of the guys, like El Snow, were around back then. Him and his partner, who is no longer around, Mike Kelly. We wrestled those guys a lot, and they were the guys who were like, whoa, ease up, ease up. And then through trying to be compatible with them, they were teaching us a little different from what the Sheik was saying. So that was one of those times where Sheik was like, don't listen to anybody else, fuck them. And then I went and started going to Japan, and then in Japan, I wasn't stiff enough. Like, if I did something and didn't kick the hell out of one of my opponents, they wouldn't react to it. And then they would, bam, they would just kick me so hard and knock me on my ass. When I was a young boy, and I was 22 when I started going there, it was offensive. I started bringing it up, saying, hey, I'll knock him on his ass. And then when I started kicking them back, then I realized that's what they wanted. That was the respect for the sport that was necessary with that kind of style. Otherwise, if they react to something that I do and I'm not really kicking the shit out of them, I make them look bad, I make the sport look bad. And I'm not going to be able to do that because they're not reacting to it. So all of that was learning experience. And I got this shit beat out of me going through Japan so many times because I'm flexible. They'd powerbomb me on the back of my head. I'm from a school where I never, ever, 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 ever say that I'm hurt. And it's because if I can keep going and you don't need to take me to the hospital, then I'm not hurt. To me, hurt means, dude, you're fucked, you can't work. If I can still work, I'm not hurt, so shut up. So that's why I've wrestled with broken bones and, concussions and torn ACL, for a long time before it finally snapped. And I'm not saying that's a good idea, but I'm saying that's the way that I came up. And still now, after a match, if somebody afterwards says, "Oh my God, I'm sorry, did I catch you in the mouth with that?" I'm like, dude, get out of here. You didn't catch me. And that is something that I enjoy. I enjoy the physicality of it. I enjoy showing off not just my moves, but also showing off my durability. I can take a lot of punishment. Good thing there's an outlet to show it. I want people in the crowd to know they would get hurt if they were doing the exact same thing that I was doing. And that's all a big buildup, not to avoid, but to say that, yes, I have hurt a lot of wrestlers. Back in the day, I was breaking noses on accident when I was learning, headbutting. I remember someone had me in a waist lock, bam, I headbutted him in the nose, and that was one of the first times I remember hurting someone to that extent, because I was really young and stuff, and afterwards I was like, man, I hope he's not really mad, and he was just like, nah, as long as you didn't do it on purpose. If you did it on purpose, I'm mad. If you didn't, that's, I understand, it happens. And I was like, no, that's cool. By the way, when I was trying to learn with Sabu before my first match, I told him, hey, I want to do this, because I was a kickboxer already. I want to be able to do like a jumping back kick out of the corner, pow, and turn it into like, you know, a flying back kick. You know, I would like to do that. And Sabu was like, all right, well, here, just do it on me. And I was like, yeah, but I mean, how do I do it without knocking somebody out? Because I know how to really kick you, but is there a way you can show me? Like, I don't know, do I aim for your shoulder, or is there some way? He goes, no, just do it and try not to hurt me. He goes, you got enough control, you should be, and if you hit my jaw and you break my jaw, he goes, just, you know, we'll wait a few weeks and then we'll try it again and then just try and pull back from there. I was like, are you sure? He goes, yeah, just do it. I said, all right. I jumped off, bam, I broke his jaw. He's eating through a straw for weeks. Oh, everywhere we went. And sure enough, like soon as his jaw is healed, he said, all right, let's get in there and try again. This time try and pull back a little bit. That's the way that I got trained. The worst thing for me would be if my foot slipped on the rope and the crowd that was waiting for that all got on me, you fucked up, you fucked up, you fucked up. That was a horrible feeling. When I first came to ECW, I knew it was different already, and in fact, I was a little bit intimidated by the difference because it was just such a vast opposite side of the spectrum. It was like I was wrestling in Georgia at the time. Deep South wrestling's like this. You want to get over as a babyface, you go, come on everybody, let's go. You try that in ECW and they would boo you right out the door. And I knew that. I hadn't experienced it firsthand, but I could feel that energy just watching it on television. I could hear the chants, you know, like they're all, it wasn't like little kids screaming, USA. You know, it's like, it's adults, you know, chanting, you know, get the fuck out. And it was just, whoa, and they all had black t-shirts. Like these are like, I don't know, is this what it looks like at a rock concert? I personally don't go to many rock concerts, but it felt and looked more like that kind of atmosphere to me than the wrestling crowds at the Augusta Fairgrounds in Georgia. Before my first match, I was like, I wonder if I can jump up in the corner, do a split, and like hit my legs on both ropes and then like flip backwards and land on my opponent. I was always thinking of stuff like that before I did. I visualized, and then, you know, and then I have a pretty good idea of if I can do it up here and really feel it. And there was pressure to not even slip on the rope, because for me, being the self-perfectionist that I was, throwing everything together, the worst thing for me would be if my foot slipped on the rope and the crowd that was waiting for that all got on me, you fucked up, you fucked up, you fucked up. That was a horrible feeling. Something to avoid. something to encourage me and motivate me to not fuck up. And you have to understand that Sabu trained me. He's my brother. I've known him longer than anybody in the business. And at that time, which is 96, anything that Sabu told me was gold. That's how I was brought in. First time I went into the dressing room, he's telling me, those guys are the shits. Those guys are the shits. Fuck those guys. Those guys think they're really good. The Dudleys over there, they think they're really good, but they're really the shits. They don't understand. They got a lot to learn. The Eliminators, they think they're good, you know, but they're shits. You know, fuck those guys. And so I was just like, all right, fuck that. And in the mind of being so competitive, like you have to be in that moment. You know, you look at, you know, like, yeah, Sheik or Sabu says that he and I are better than everybody else, you know, and so I guess that's true. And that's how it was. And here's Taz, his own little part in this big warehouse where everyone's dressed on tables and stuff. He literally had himself surrounded with Team Taz, who were his men, bodyguards, servants, trainers, whatever they were. They all wore orange jackets for Team Taz, and they literally stood in a circle in a circle around Taz. And that was his room, like they were his wall. He had his people standing around a wall, and he would be in the middle, and he'd be like, just like getting like so tense, you know, like hours before the show. And I was like, dude, what's up with him? Why is he so tense? And Sabu would just laugh at him, so I would laugh at him, you know. And of course, looking back, we were all characters, you know. But that's how it was. Everyone was like on their own, ready to do their own part. But then what I learned was that we all really were like a family, you know, especially when it came to being proud of what we were doing in comparison to what others were doing. You know, I mean, we were setting completely different standards, you know, to a point to where sometimes watching the standard setters on TV was offensive to us because nobody ever asked us if we were really hitting each other. They knew we were. We were beating the shit out of each other and folding chairs around our heads, chairs that the fans were sitting on, not gimmicked chairs where we try and make them soft. And when you watch the other stuff on TV, that's what they would expect. You know, that they would expect everything to be staged in a way to be safe. And, you know, it was just different styles, but we were so proud of the style that we were doing, and we were so proud as artists and performers. And, you know, truth is, when the offers started coming, solid offers to leave ECW and go to one of the other companies for more money, more TV exposure, you know, bigger stardom, I really didn't want to go, and ECW was on the rise, and so I, just like most of us, hoped and believed that ECW might really find its spot, you know, that it would get picked up by a major channel, that enough people would get exposed to it to where it would grow its audience and we wouldn't have to go anywhere else. That's what I really hoped for, you know. There was a point eventually where that wasn't going to happen, and that wasn't until like the very end. But we all believed, and we all, you know, loved ECW so much that that's what we wanted to see happen. In this business, everybody has to deal with promises being made and broke. Everybody. At the time, I don't know if I really knew what the history of the TV title was. I definitely knew Bam Bam Bigelow's history. So I was happy and excited to be wrestling with him. I loved Bam Bam. And also, you know, when I beat him that night, it was a great moment. It was a great match. You know, you've seen the historical footage of me diving out to the crowd, the fifth row, and landing on Bam Bam Bigelow. That's what we were doing, was pushing the envelope, doing extreme things. I mean, that's what the whole energy was of ECW in the crowd, the way that they would scream at moments like that, you know, and it would reverberate through my whole body. I mean, it was just boom, you know, boom, boom, boom. That's what it felt like, being out there with EC-Dub and just feeling that thunderous applause and approval. That was a great high, it really was, and I enjoyed that. After I won the TV championship, I didn't realize the impact that was really gonna have on my position, the perspective the fans would have of me. It was the next match after I won the TV title. I was wrestling in Queens. I had a match with Mikey Whipwreck, and I was always thinking of different ways to outdo myself. And in the daytime, before fans came in and the arena was pretty empty, I'm looking around trying to think of stuff. And I remember Paul Heyman came by, and I said, hey, Paul, what do you think about this? And I was looking at the aisleway where you walk back to the dressing room, and I was like, well, I want to put Mikey, I want to crotch him on like one guardrail, and then I'm thinking, I want to springboard from the other guardrail on the other side of the walkway, springboard and jump all the way across the walkway, bam, and kick Mikey off here. Think that'd be cool? And Paul goes, I don't think it matters what you do tonight. I said, well, he goes, the people are gonna love you. And I was like, yeah, but I mean, you know, like, because I was doing it on the guardrail. No, whatever you want, you can't lose. And I was like, what is he talking about? And I had no idea, but he was right. Like, the people treated me different that night. They treated me like a superstar. And from that night forward, it was always on a whole new level. So that was a very pivotal time in my career. It was easy to draw the point right there when I won the TV championship to see my whole career elevated. And of course, I kept it. I kept the TV title and made it mean as much as the heavyweight title. We were bringing guys in from other companies, other parts of the world, Japan, Mexico, whatever, to come after the championship, and I enjoyed that, just giving those performances. You know, like I've never really been into the storyline so much. I know that draws a lot of fans. For me, I just want to go show off, and for me at that time, it seemed like pretty much that was enough storyline that RVD's the man to beat, the TV champion. For 2 years, giving the best matches, undeniably the whole effing show. Come up and stop that. That was the storyline. I like that. My television title reign ended with an injury at just about 2 years as I was television champion. Simple baseball slide. My ankle rolled underneath me. It snapped. And it put me out for about 3 months. Of course, I was super bummed at the time, but you know, I couldn't have known that injury was gonna happen, and I couldn't have known anything else that hadn't happened was gonna happen, because the business is such that plans are made all the time. Sometimes opposite plans are made with other people, and you find out about that, and you're like, what? Well, that's inconsistent with what I've been told, and boom, boom, boom. That's part of it. So I never really believe anything's gonna happen until it does. I'm always skeptically optimistic, and so like a lot of people always wanna ask me about, but what were plans, you know, what were they gonna do? You'd have to ask them. I know that I was really looking forward to wrestling with Mike Awesome, and I thought, how cool would that be to be the television champion and the ECW heavyweight champion at the same time? That would be pretty cool. Couple belts to wear around my waist, because I always like holding it on my shoulder unless I have two. Then it looks better on my waist. It makes me feel like I have armor, like I'm bulletproof or something. It was the most fun of my career, and like I said, ECW was like on the rise, and it was great. You know, Mike Awesome also ended up leaving, which also derailed the possibilities of that happening at a later date. A lot of guys started jumping ship, you know, and some of them really, I think, didn't want to. But again, you know, it's something where you're in this business, everybody has to deal with promises being made and broke. Everybody. I'm sure nobody's exempt from that, because you have so many different people that are trying to do their part in developing part of the show, and then you have all these agents that have different wrestlers that they're looking out for, you know, to get their wrestlers more TV time, or get their wrestlers that they're taking care of, you know, put ahead of the other ones, and then everybody pitches all their ideas, and then, you know, that happens several times a day, and then some things that are accepted earlier in the day are changed later on in the day, and so that's why everybody has to go through the times where like, yes, I'm so excited about what they told me, and then later be like, oh, but you told me this. That is part of it, and the only way you can really, well, I mean, there's a couple ways you can deal with that. One, you can let it bother the hell out of you every single time, or you can just kind of like let it roll off your shoulder, so you have more control over your reactions and your feelings, and be like, oh, sounds good, let's see if it happens. Either way, I know that I can only do my part, and that's in the ring when I'm showing off.